Hey there, my name is Hannah, and I really like sharing about my journey that I've been on, um, you know, of figuring out how to treat my life as a business and how to make intentional decisions that feel authentic to me, and how to put all of these efforts into creating a business for myself. And I created my business last September, September 2024. Licensed, insured, all of that, registered, and it's a dog care business. So, you know, um, that is what I like talking about on my channel here. And I hope that the things that I share about my own journey can be helpful to you in your journey. So, I wanted to share something that I've been thinking about lately when it comes to experimenting. So, I turned 32 last November, and on my birthday, I kind of, I use Chaldean, however you say it, Chaldean numerology as a way to kind of structure a sense of meaning for myself, to try to have an intuitive um, sense of meaning, basically, sense of purpose, sense of my mind framed around a specific intention. And it doesn't matter what the specific intention is, it just has to be some kind of specific intention, right? So, um, you know, 32, for me, that is creating with the partner aspect. And then 5 is experimentation or play. So creating or partnering, or creating with the partner aspect for the purpose of play and experimentation is kind of the theme of this year that I'm in my life. And so I'm incorporating that into what I do in my business, right? So I am in the first year of my business, and it is all about experimenting. And I think even more so for me than seeing it as like I am in the first year of this like static business. I think for me it's more about I'm in the first year as a business operator. Whether I'm going to stay with this business long term or it's going to morph into other things, we'll see about that. Um, I really do like the idea of having a through current through my life that I keep on building expertise in, but um, there's a lot of things as I still work out, trying to figure out how to, I guess, kind of get back in touch with my emotions and my intuition and my process of authentic decision making, so that I'm not caught up in the noise and the distractions. That is what I'm more focused on in this stage, so that I can feel definite and secure in the decision making and the paths I go down in relation to my business as time progresses. I do see my business as a really beautiful way that lets me connect to people and meet people in um, a safe, measured way. With kind of expected protocols and expected, like, it's a beautiful way to give and receive um, value, and just kind of participate in my humanity. And that's not the whole picture. Like, Eric can't be the only way to connect with people and explore parts of our humanities, through our business. Um, but I think it's an important way, and it's certainly a necessary way. in this day and age when, so many of us, we have factors in our genetic histories, in our lineage, in our upbringing, in our life experiences along the way that form us into people who are not able to participate in the current financial, ways of procuring financial resources as they are in the world now. We find ourselves, um, if you aren't kind of funneled or opened up into a path that allows you to have more of creative license and responsibility, and if you don't even feel that it's safe for you to express yourself creatively or give a shape to your voice, then this really, it leaves you disabled or differently abled, or both. Like, I identify with both of those terms at this point, because you know being disabled is, it's acknowledging that our abilities, everybody in the world has their own set of strengths and limitations. And when it comes to the essentials of being able to earn money, have financial independence, have the freedom of choice, and to know that you're not making decisions out of coercion to survive, but you're making decisions out of, you want to, you have the freedom to choose to say no. You're not just saying yes because you need financial protection or, um, you know, access to resources and care. It's really important to the human spirit. I feel like to the human, the best about humanity, the part of us that isn't terrified, the parts of us that are able to do what we're meant to do, which is to soak in the beauty and to help spread the beauty of being alive and good experiences and non-suffering. And you know um so anyway, not to get too off track, when I'm talking about experimentation, you know all of these things, I kind of went off on little rabbit trails about, just speaking a little bit of words about. um these kinds of things are kind of in the periphery of this larger intentional goal that I've brought myself into. And having this YouTube channel is something that is really helping me to reflect on and continue this, intentional long-term goal of experimenting, like how to become a sustainable business operator. And where I'm at in my path is being like, well, I did have a business, like my dog care business. I did have a business that was like operating. I had clients. I had, regular, like everyday walks to do, every week, just like regular income. I got to that point, and immediately, when I actually got to that point, immediately within 2 weeks of that, I was like, ew, this feels horrible. And I was like, oh, this isn't what I really want. Like, I want something about this, but there's a difference between this, this logical idea that we have, this just like, kind of mathematical, like, how do I get to the goal? What are the components? And then we look in the world around us for examples of what components people use to get to this goal of, financial security and stability. And then you try to like morph yourself to supply those ingredients that will result in baking a business. And then you're like, oh fuck, I'm like morphing myself way too strongly. Like, I didn't even realize the degree to which it's my natural inclination and habit to to ignore my signals of pain, to ignore my signals that this isn't authentic for me, to ignore my signals that it's not the right time in my life for it to be doing whatever. It's not just ignoring all these signals, ignoring all the input that my body's trying to tell me, and trying to see my emotions and my thoughts as more like shut up, we need to like morph you into shape, we need to like make you able to survive and shut out the actual reality of what's going on, of the pain and the fear and the exhaustion, all of these things. And it's amazing being like, oh wow, that is kind of a way of living that we are, everybody is taught to some degree, I'm guessing. And then there's some people that they never have to think beyond that because they aren't disabled, because they are able to procure resources, because they did have an upbringing that you know um, brought them into situations that let them develop a career. And maybe they have let me just blow this because I hear people talking, it's distracting. But maybe they will have things that kind of cause them burnout and cause later down the road injuries, or having to reassess and do all this. But until people get to that point of reassessing the strengths and limitations we have, and until we, whether you've always kind of seen the world in that way or you get to it later in your life, like um we do kind of, we realize at some point that like, oh, it, like I have been trying to get myself to go against myself. Like if like I've been flailing. I'm fucking 32, and I've been flailing my whole life. I was homeless for most of my 20s. I I've had jobs like for a couple years. Longest job I've had is for 2 years. I've had jobs here and there scattered. Most of my jobs have been like a couple weeks or like a month or something, you know. And that's just been my life. Did I already say I have been homeless a lot? I have been homeless a lot. I've been a hitchhiker camping in the woods. I've been, doing work exchanges on farms. I've been working 2 jobs while living in my car. I haven't really been able to advocate for myself in bad situations. That's partly why I've been homeless, is because I've just been trying to escape bad situations with bad people. And I finally gotten to a point in my life where I have my incredible, amazing boyfriend, and I know that, you know, it. I'm so grateful for him. I'm so grateful to have gotten to the point in my life where my values have changed, so that I'm able to sense what is good and what is bad for me, and what I want, what my values are, like what is good for me in terms of what is compatible with my actual strengths and limitations. And um I have been flailing for most of my life. And I think when you're in that position, in a flailing type of position, however you get there, at some point you do have to start to paint the narrative as, oh, I have some deep programming in me that causes me to ignore the signs, the feelings, the sensations that tell me what I really need. And people who don't experience that level of suffering, or they're able to prevent the suffering by, maybe they were raised in cultures that really protected their health, or taught them ways to manage physical strain, or that gave them some kind of training and some kind of creative expressive ability that gives them this sense of passion that kind of offsets all the stress. There's a lot of different factors, but people in those kind of situations, they gratefully never really get to the point where they have to start being like, okay, or maybe they do for other reasons, like their health they have health troubles or unexpected disasters or whatever. But you know, at some point, probably all of us in our lives, at some point, we will be like, okay, what are the narratives that I'm using that it's corrupting my ability to care for myself authentically, for what I actually need, for what will actually allow me to be sustainably on a path, you know? And people, like, we are so fickle in terms of, I don't even really know what the word fickle means. But when I say that, I'm meaning we are so um like small, like we can't predict the future. We need to have some kind of stability, some kind of sense of security. And for a lot of people, that can come from our dreams, you know, this sense of like, well, like I know for me, something that majorly drives me is I'm like, I want to die with like all my chosen family and extended family that's formed by my chosen family, and like close family friends. Like I want to die when I am on a beautiful land trust that is like a huge land trust that is like a mini corporation or something that is formed by all the owners, the co-owners of the land, like all my friends and chosen family, and we each like have agreements amongst ourselves for how to use the land, but all together it's a land trust. And you know, some kind of co-op or corporation or a, a hippie version of an HOA or something. I don't even want to say hippie version because I don't know. I've had bad associations with that word. Um, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I want to die when I'm there and be able to walk through my gardens that I've spent time growing. And you know, when I was younger, I did do work exchanges on farms, and I did see it as like oh my god, like if only I can just like find a farm that will let me have a little baby cabin on their land, and I can do a work exchange, and I can have my own garden, and I could just live here for my entire life. But I always found that because I didn't have power or respect, and people always saw me as like you know, trying to like this sense of like owning like indentured servitude, owning the sense of communication through manipulation, through you know, just for me, I had these, you could also see it as I had these dreams and aspirations, but it wasn't in tune with what my body and mind was able to actually physically deliver at those times. And I also realized through that how important it is to me to have um you know, financial independence, and to kind of understand this whole dynamic of coercion and sovereignty, and how to even interpret, you know, not being distracted by the external, but how to interpret like what is authentic for me and what feels safe, safe for me. Like how can I make decision processes that feel like it's not framed as like I'm making it according to all other people's actions and manipulations, coercions, what that whole mess. But I'm just making decisions in line with what actually feels authentic and sustainable and nice to me. You know, like there it's too bad, but we do go through life shaped by our experiences. And I when I was younger, like I did have this sense of kind of like I just have to be a good person and good things will happen to me, you know. I do just have to like smile at everybody and be kind to everybody and help everybody who asks for it, and try to be that like best friend, kind person to everybody, you know. I very much was that person, but it got to the point where I realized like I was giving of myself not because I was authentically getting something that I needed in return. It was I was giving to myself because I thought that was just what I was, the role I was supposed to play without, and I thought that like magically if I gave of myself, that I would get good things in return. But getting good things in return can only be sensed by having your needs met. And I hadn't even identified my needs and realized whether these situations and these people could even fulfill these needs, or like, I was kind of setting up other people to become villains, and I was setting myself up to be betrayed and harmed. So that is something that I've been thinking a lot about, that whole kind of dynamic, and trying to understand now where I'm at now in my life. How do I continue experimenting from this point? And I think I've kind of gone as far as I can go. Well, experimenting towards sustainability, sustainable philosophies, sustainable practices, sustainable ways that I earn my sustenance and living, and exchange my energy for resources so I can live and eat in the same place and enjoy life and be a human being, you know, um, enjoy the process of being alive while I am still in this life process of experimentation. Um, I'm realizing I've gone as far as I can in terms of logic. I've been really relying on logic so far to try to like mathematically provide this sense of security for myself, and to navigate my way to create my business, to start my YouTube channel where I decided to be sharing about my journey and my thoughts. Um, these kind of longer term projects that I've been doing since like last, I don't know, August or whatever, these intentional projects. It's been logic based, and I'm in the time now where I'm realizing that the way that I navigate, I want to learn how to let it be more intuitive based and more informed by my bodily sensations. And of course, logic comes into this. I mean, I'm using logic to kind of confirm to confirm and convey the bodily experiences and intuitive experiences that are to be had. But yeah, I think that in order to experiment with that, it is a big risk. And if I know anything about myself, is that I'm very good at taking risks. That's kind of been a big theme of my life. Like, I am the risk taker. I am like I'm gonna go all in with full faith and do the best I can. Like, that's partly why I'm in so much debt now, and why you know anyway. um I very much am that kind of person. Like, you got to break some eggs in order to make an omelet, and I'm moved by my vision, and I believe in my vision, and so I go for it and take risks. And the shitty thing about this world is that we can have limited access to information or resources. Well, we always have lack of access to information, but we have lack of access to the resources that can allow our vision to come to life, because the most important resources are fellow people. And to connect to fellow people, it's a big thing is luck, luck and chance, meeting the right people at the right time, um, and also like being able to express things authentically, and understanding that within authenticity there can be like patterns of communication that are inauthentic underneath it. Like, it can involve feelings of like begging or pleading, um or like guilting people into changing their behavior in order to participate in helping a vision come to life. Like, how we change people's behavior, how we invite people. I always want it to feel easy, you know? I always want it to feel like I don't want to be micromanaging things, and I don't want other people to be micromanaging things. I want it to feel like simple, like if it can't be entered into easily and happily, then it's just not, not for me. And what is easy and happy, that changes depending on our physical health and our mental health and where we're at, like how we perceive if something's difficult or not, according to our strengths and limitations. So, it's partly chance to find the people resources that can help bring our visions to life. It's partly, how, like, learning how to be more authentic in our expression, and also chance to find the people who, just patience and chance, to find the people who are on the same page. And anyway, it gets really confusing for me, so I try not to think too much about it. What I'm just trying to think about is more about I forgot what I was talking about earlier, but with experimenting and taking risks, that's what it was. So I looked up the word experiment on Wiktionary, and the Indo-Proto-European like root of experiment, I think it was PER. I don't remember for sure. It was some word that the associations with this word are to take risks. And I think it was something about like to carry. I don't remember what else, but to take risks is what stuck with me. So experimenting is about taking risks, and risks are proportional to how we feel, like how do you know something's a risk? You feel fear. Or if you're not able to physically feel fear in your body because you're numb to your sensations, because your body is protecting you, then, you can at least register it logically, hopefully. I mean, I think that it will be registered logically or physically, like somatically. As something as a risk for us, if our thoughts go into a spiral, that means it's a risk, because our thoughts are trying to anticipate and solve and protect us, strategize. And if we feel physical sensations of fear and anxiety, like, illness and all those, delightful sensations, then that also can mean it's a risk. And I'm grateful at this point that I'm in the position where I am numb to a lot of my physical sensations, or maybe not even numb, but I have enough stability. Gratefully, I finally have enough stability in my life that physical anxiety symptoms aren't like a hallmark of my existence like they have been most of my life, and when I do have physical anxiety symptoms, I'm much better at managing it than in the past. I think a little bit of that is numbness from just being desensitized to it through aging, and just being like, I have other things to worry about, so anyway, yeah, so taking risks for me, it is a risk to turn off the logical mind of it and to be thinking much smaller, thinking not how should I be structuring my energy in the moment right now. God, I've been talking a long time, I'm not trying to structure my thoughts in terms of like, what should I be thinking about right now? What should I be doing right now to make everything be the most efficient it can be for a future outcome? I'm not trying to do that anymore. I'm trying to be much more like, how can I literally just enjoy the process of the day to day and make the day to day feel alive, feel flowing, feel nurturing to my authentic needs? And I know my authentic needs by my body's feedback, and my mind's feedback, you know? And I'm at the point where like my mind's feedback, it creates like physical pain in my body, like headaches and these like senses of um I guess the best thing I could describe it in emotional terms is anger. You know, this sense of like being backed into a corner, helpless, tightness, anger at the injustices in the world, all of this stuff. And it's only sane that we give credit to this line of thoughts, because we're not the only ones experiencing it, and it is a fault of the systems in the world that fail people and abandon us. Um, you know, we have to hold the systems accountable to help us. I think, be like, well, the systems, including like cultural systems, couldn't help me to prevent all this stuff, then I'm sure gonna hold them accountable to give them justice to me and put me in a situation where I actually can be, you know, a participating member of the world that is helping to add beneficial beneficial things, and just kind of fulfilling that human need that we all have to have a purpose and a mission. And anyway, yeah, so for me, a part of the risks that I'm taking is very much rest, the risks that I'm taking is very much just learning more how to flow in my day to day, to have my mind feel like a safe haven, have my mind feel like a safe place where I notice that, like, a stream of thoughts, I don't have to be emotionally reacting to it. I don't have to be one with it. I don't have to be, roped into solving and trying to prove and analyze in my own head. I just can be like, okay, that's there, but right now isn't the time to be thinking about this. I need help. I need other things in order to address things like financial concerns, or um, health concerns, in the ways that I can, and the ways that I can help myself. It has to be done, building a firm foundation that can be continually built upon over time. This foundation that I'm setting is based on listening to my thoughts and feelings authentically, healing and reparenting myself, healing the relationship I have to myself, my creative process, how I work with myself, how do I make decisions, form narratives that lead me to one choice over the other, how do I know what is authentic to me so it's sustainable and I don't have so many side effects that other people have to micromanage or that bring me down, so that I'm not able to um, be in that empowered, uh, kind of self-regulating, so to speak, position. So, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm like always thinking about. Um, that is, I mean, it's a true obsession for me, and it has had to have been an obsession for me because, you probably know if you're watching this, it's just how we learn to survive being alive. It's just our world, and we have aspirations for how we want things to be differently, especially if we had the privilege of other experiences in the past. We know how good it can be. And for me, I'm in this situation where I know, like, how I used to feel in my body. I know what my health used to be. I know how I used to feel about myself in the world. I know how peaceful and good it can be. So I'm trying to get back to that. And That's a big part of what drives me to be like, okay, maybe I won't want to euthanize myself all the time if only I can do what seems impossible. The seemingly impossible thing of finding my way to have this basis, this inner understanding for how I relate to myself, relate to the world, and relate to my decision making. And over time, this will result in my body being healthier. This will result in me having an emotionally engaging day to day life. This will relate to me feeling like this deep human meaning, like all my experiences I've had, it can be funneled in some way to help other people and bring understanding and bring this sense of like humanity and justice and like, yes, this is what life is supposed to be and I want everybody to experience this. That kind of thing. Like that is what I'm searching for. I'm searching after this risk taking I have and this faith and this inner belief that I can get to that. But it takes experimentation, I think, to find what is authentic. What is authentic for me, because I'm never going to feel good like that unless it is tailored for me, right? So I have to experiment to figure out um what actually matches my needs of the moment, of this era of my life, or just the literal moment of the day. So, yeah, experimenting, another part of experimentation that I don't fully understand yet is play. And that's something else that I'm learning about, how to like just slowly try to see life in the frame of play, and like it's really not that big of a deal. It's nothing to have a panic attack about. Like life isn't trying to just remember like I can't take it too seriously, and I can't. My whole life I learned to like gravitate towards like self-harm and hurting myself in order to force myself to do things in order to get by, and everything felt so deadly serious. And I very much I honor that life can be deadly serious, especially when we are in compromising, unjust scenarios. It can be like that, but everybody also deserves to experience life as open and safe and free and beautiful and enjoyable and exciting and fulfilling, in the way that we help other people also, but help people in an authentic way where it's not bringing us down in order to help. Um, and at the end of the day, only we can decide for ourselves what is bringing us down or not. We don't need to have other people's permission or agreement. We only need to have that conviction within ourselves and continue basing our decisions in what we push for, what we're convicted in. We only need to keep on being true to what we believe, not trying to change other people, but just keep on acting in line with our own reality. Because only we can sense what our pain actually is, and only we can sense how much we want our goals, and only we can give to us our quality of experience, because other people aren't going to care more than we do. Or if other people do care more than we do, or seem to care more than we do, it's because they are just benefiting from that, playing out that narrative. And they might be benefiting in a way that is unexpected. Anyway, I know I could be saying these things in a lot better ways, but that's just where I'm at in my process. And I do want to pull a card I haven't been using my cards, my tarot cards, for a while, just because, whew, I don't know. I feel like I've been through a wormhole. I feel like I've been through a wormhole the past couple months, the past weeks, the past, like, literally, like, every week feels like a month to me. This is a really weird time of my life, but the more that I am in this, the more I am letting myself find ways to relax, giving my permission to not care, giving myself permission to turn my brain off, giving myself permission to not, go force myself to do the dishes when I'm exhausted, but instead to allow myself to just meditate, laying on the ground for a few minutes and affirming that it feels good and safe in my body. By affirming, I mean feeling, letting my, not just saying the words, but letting myself like actually feel the support and feel, and to ask my subconscious, ask the universe, or ask that whatever you think it is, ask that sense of our essential humanity, that depending on what theories or hypotheses or whatever you believe, it could be, our minds could have abilities that we aren't really scientifically aware of at this stage in humanity's development. But we could have different, just ways of accessing information in terms of, there's these age-old ideas of us having guides, or to looking to a guide, or believing that there is a guide in some way that can help us make a decision where we can intuitively feel that path is the right way forward. So anyway, I've been learning how to rest my mind in these ways also, and just remembering that there are things there are things much bigger than just what seems like these systems that I can't overcome, and like these situations I can't overcome. And just, I'm really trying hard to remember that I've gotten pretty good at this, but remembering that I'm not the enemy, and that any way that I shift, it has to be in accordance with it feeling good and rewarding and safe, not doing it out of guilt, not doing it out of shame, not doing it out of, terror, none of that, but only acting because I am being drawn towards something out of love. So that is what I am on now. So anyway, I wanted to ask the question of, what is the narrative that I can use to help me rest? What is a narrative that I can use to help me experiment with resting? And yeah, first of all, what is the way that that I can understand rest as? What's a narrative that can help me understand what rest means? Eight of Swords. So in order to manifest freedom, the opposite of that picture where you feel, you feel like you have all this power around you. Your power is around you, but you feel frozen. You feel like you can't see it or reach out for it. But it is like right there around you, and you can feel even more helpless. Like, oh my God, like it's right there. If only, in order to rest is what helps us to overcome this. And yeah, that the water at the bottom could have something to do with emotions. I'm trying to think if it's like feeling, being like Well, my feet are in the emotions. Like, there is a part of me, however distant and small, that can feel intuitively. Um, Maybe the emotions, the water at the bottom, it causes you to feel your feet and then to remember amidst your terror that your feet are free. So maybe you can kick a sword down, or kick a sword down and then lay your body down and like rub the cloth bandages on the sword to cut yourself free. Maybe the emotions, how we tend to demonize our emotions. um it's something I'm trying to really do, is remember that my emotions are, you know, sacred guide points to give me feedback on what is authentic for me. And my whole goal for me at this time in my life is to get really small, get really safe, get a feeling of security and stability and a firm foundation unlike I've ever experienced before, so that I can be building from that place, and building my health, building my business, building um my relationship to myself and the world, all of that. So it's remembering that, yeah, rest allows me to feel into the smaller subtle details that can be maybe smaller to miss, and then through that, through like my emotional feedback, I can use that to help me break out of what seemed like a helpless situation. So that is a way to understand rest. Pretty cool. Something else I wanted to ask is, what is a way to what is a narrative that can help me to understand how to enjoy the process of experimenting, like how to make experimenting play? Because for me, like the number 5, experimenting, play, like that all goes hand in hand, but I don't really understand very well yet, like what play exactly has to do with experimenting, how that feels, because I'm so focused on this sense of like, this mindset of it has to be frantic, it has to be fear-based, that's driving me, like, but what does being driven by play look like? I don't know. I mean, I guess I do a little bit, but just maybe glimpses. I want more glimpses. I want to put my feet in it. So what's a narrative I can use to help me understand what experimenting through play looks like? What does experimenting through play look like? 10 of Pentacles. Experimenting through play. Wow. I would say that is like this sense of like back to basics. 10 boils down to 1. Well, 1, 0, which to me, 0, like the void or all that is, God, some sense of like sacred unification, safety, like stability, things like that. Just communing with that part that lives within you and feeling directly a part of it. So that there's a lot of wealth and beauty in this picture. That is how that old dude right there, that's how I want to feel when I'm elderly and when I'm getting ready to pass, and I am, he has all this abundance around him. He has his loved ones, he has his cute little dogs, he has his beautiful home, or the village he lives in, or whatever. He has this something that is like his community has built that is really beautiful, and you can feel pride about. And you have trees in the background, so that represents more material abundance and beauty and splendor and the sensual pleasures, all of that good stuff. So to me, it's play is what, I don't know if I should interpret that as, play how to experiment through play. Is it I'm looking for things that um, let me feel abundant, or things that I think will get me to this abundance? And maybe things only feel abundant to me in the moment because I believe it will get me to this kind of abundance in the future. So maybe that's a part of it for me, I think, you know? So I think that for me, it very much is about what gives me that feeling of abundance in the present, where I almost feel like, oh my God, this is too good to be true. This is actually really beautiful. Maybe it has some clue having to do with that. Something that actually feels like, whoa, like I actually am so blessed. Like this actually feels perfect. And I also trust my intuition, though. If it actually does feel too good to be true, like if that is literally the thing coming into my mind, then I think that that has, you know, social constraints, communication constraints, constraints of existing in the time of history we do. You know, there actually are real constraints for me to pay attention to, so that, you know, to prevent villainizing myself or villainizing other people, and to just, that's what is authentic for me, because these matters are very important to me based on my own experiences, and so they do filter in. So I know for me it's authentic to really pay attention to things that actually feel like it's too good to be true, because that's not abundant to me. That's like a false trap kind of thing. But things that feel like believable to me, like it intuitively feels believable, it intuitively feels relaxing and safe, you know. I definitely want to do more time meditating and kind of just allowing my dreams and my mind to fix themselves in this direction. So yeah, this has been a very long video, longer than I expected, but I hope that it is helpful for you in some kind of way in your own journey, as you know, as you're treating your own life as a business. You know, we are we all have that seed of resilience in us, you know. And to me, resilience means the ability to keep on going when things are horrible. Not keep on going like forcing ourselves to stay in the same position, but keeping on going to figure out how to get us out of the horrible, and how to be more live authentically and sustainably for ourselves, you know. That's what resilience means to me, and I think that we all have that ability to learn to relate to ourselves in that way, so we're able to honor finding the right role for us to play in the world, the right mindsets to play. And you know, this is going to change throughout life as we have different experiences. So part of it is like kind of a lifetime practice of I don't know, learning all the components to let life feel rewarding to us personally as individuals. It's going to be different for everybody to a degree. Anyway, thank you for listening, and take care. Bye.